Item number 3.5. Chief Executive Officer's Report. Mr. Gareth Green.
So thank you, Your Worship. I will take the item as read, but we'll point out a few little items in there, a few little matters. For those councillors that are sitting in the room again after the election, you'll notice that the report has changed a little bit in format, and hopefully that's providing more of a visual snapshot of the organisation and the organisation's finances. This month we have only got the financial position, you don't have the service stuff, and essentially that's just a timing issue, so it's our intention to get the service performance items to you on the 1st of December council meeting. In terms of highlights in my report, probably the only things I'd mention there was the, as written as the hiahia award, which was a significant award for this district, and that was awarded to council due to the amount of, actually wasn't to council, it was to the community as a result of all of the good work that we do in events. It's the second time that this council's held that award, and quite an esteemed award internationally. The other thing that I'd highlight there was the completion of the extension to the Waitanui 5 Mile Bay wastewater treatment plant pipeline, which is obviously a major piece of work that the last council signed off, I think probably about 3 or 4 years ago now, so nice to get that one under the belt. I've got the team in front of us here, as you'll see, who will be the team that will normally walk you through the reports. As I say, this one is primarily financial, so I imagine any questions that you've got will pretty much go to Neil, and everyone's pointing that way. However, we do have the team here, so if there are any other questions about any other projects or service standard matters that we obviously haven't reported to you, please feel free to raise them and we'll do our best to answer.
Three amigos here. All right,
through the chair.
Councillor Williamson.
Refer to page 64, just with your TL investment portfolio performance. I'm not concerned about that, given the economic financial situation, but I am interested in your alternative investment strategy, which I actually approve of. Can you give us any steer as to where you are, like obviously with interest rates perhaps increasing with investments? Could you?
We've increased our exposure to equities to about 12%, 12.5%, and you'll see that on our year-to-date performance we've got a unrealised gain just in this financial year of about $500,000 on that. We are still struggling as far as finding any corporate paper for long-term investments. The market's pretty sensitive, as you saw with Brexit. You also saw at the 30th of June, 2 days before the Australian election, our shares right down, and God only knows what's going to happen tomorrow. We might be trumped. But as it stands, we are having, by no choice of our own, but to keep funds short, and the increase in equities is pretty much driven by dividend yield. But what we've done is for each of our equities at the time of purchase, we have agreed on an exit price. So once that price is hit, and we're not being extreme in looking at gains, we can make a 10% return in a short period of time, then we'll take it.
Thank you, Ms. Nina. You have my complete confidence.
Can I just ask the reason for buying more equities? What was our percentage exposure to equities before?
Well, it's been fluctuating. We since 30th of June, we sold a parcel of shares that, as at the end of January, we were losing 430,000 on those shares, and we made 10% profit. So it's just a matter of a fluctuating exposure. So exposure actually dropped down to about 7%. And since then we've bought Auckland Airport, Sydney Airport, and APA, which is an energy company.
So we've gone from 7% to 12%.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Councillor Cousins.
I noticed on page 61, our borrowings are 148 million.
Looking at local government, please update me after what I'm looking for. There used to be the local government rule in that we're going to rise above 250%. Is that gross or net debt? And it's reduced down to 200% now, isn't it? That's correct. Yep. I'll make it so clear. That's how
Yes.
Turn off if you like.
Sensitive, isn't it?
Turn it the other way.
Yes, 200% is what we put in the financial covenants around the debt portfolio.
Yes. So would that apply to gross debt or net debt, the 200%? That's what I want clarity on. Must be, like I say, must be net, otherwise we're above.
So that's on page 63, that's in that first box, that table we're following on.
What page is that? Oh, yeah, so what's that? Oh, good man.
Page
Thank
63.
160%. Cool. Thank you, Neil.
Okay.
Perhaps if I find for questions in time, obviously, but perhaps if I start at the start.
Yeah.
So what I'd like to do, just briefly, is just because this is a new report style for the junior councillors and obviously so I'd like to just briefly walk you through it, and please at any time interject if you'd like some more information around any points. So I'll start on page 48. And so what we've done, fundamentally we've turned this into more of a combination of a like pictorial graphical presentation versus boring old numbers. So we've tried to make it a little bit interesting. You know, they always tell us that accounting is a sexy profession, and I'm sure we'll up to that. So what we have is basically the profit and loss statements on page 48 there. So across the top box, you've got your rates revenue, plus your other operating revenue, less your operating expenditure, equals your net profit surplus, sorry, net surplus deficit, all pretty standard stuff. So I'll just quickly walk you through the boxes there. What we've done is we've also put your traffic light system in there in terms of your greens and your oranges and your reds, just to give you that high level catch your eye if there's anything that you should be concerned about. You'll see in the greens under rates revenue 0.1 favourable, and you see that across the page there, that's just telling you we were tracking in terms of budget against those high level categories. You then drop down to the 4 boxes below, that's just a breakdown of the 19.5 million operating expenditure, and then breaking that down into 4 key elements, which is your personnel costs, depreciation, finance costs, and other expenses. You'll see there in just for the depreciation and finance costs, we're just marginally unfavourable there to the forecast. That's pretty minor when you look at the actual numbers there. And overall, we're actually 1.2 million favourable as at the September quarter in terms of our forecast. Sitting below those boxes there is what we've then done is we've broken the operating revenue and the operating expenditure down by the groups of activities that are in the long-term plan. So you should all be familiar with those: water, community services, transport, etc. And that's just giving you a high-level pictorial view of how we're tracking on the other income, primarily your fees and charges, and your operating expenditure. So at a snapshot, hopefully that's given you a reasonably clear overall picture. Maybe if I pause on that page there.
Yeah, any questions?
Around that page, is that kind of...
So your finance costs cost you more. I'm just trying to get around this.
No, that's correct. Margin
More, so it's 3, so that's why it's unfavourable. Okay. Yeah.
So it's 300,000.
Yeah. Councillor Christine. Sorry.
Can I ask, do we have a savings program? Do we look operationally at every area and set ourselves a target every year of reductions?
Yes, or maybe I'll look at Gareth answer that.
So we do. So it's a continual program, and I'll speak more about that as you get under the table more. But yes, we do, and each year we'll do an annual plan which shows you the breakdown of what we're spending where. We obviously, a lot of that savings is determined on your levels of service that you want to provide. There are things within that as an organisation we do which will serve up to you in terms of some of those savings. But it's a continual program. Neil, you probably know some rough numbers, but over the last couple of years we've...
Last year's budget line, I think, was a minimum $500,000 that we came off that. One of the things that you may have seen in other areas, and it's something that I don't support because I've seen it go very badly, is some organisations have factored in, they said, we will find X $1 million worth of savings and we'll factor that into your budget now. And then when you roll through, if you don't achieve that, that can leave you in some quite challenging financial circumstances. So I have seen that done in other entities. We prefer to factor in what we call real savings and go through that way. So I'm not quite sure whether that was what you were referring to.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of other organisations do just what you said you don't like doing, but I just want to know it's a rigorous process because there are always huge savings in the operation of any organisation or business, and if you don't push yourself to find them, you won't find them. And it's just, it wasn't clear here whether you do that or not.
Every year we have that process, and I guess some of the gentlemen here can attest to that, sitting through. I'll give you a bit of background of maybe some of the processes that we do with the last long-term plan. We had a team led by Alan. A team of us sat through 40 meetings with all the staff and went through line by line on all of their budgets, and it become known as a bit of a grueling session for the staff. So yes, I can assure you that process is an ongoing process that we do.
But we're continually reviewing what we do and seeing whether or not we can, for example, invest in capital to reduce operational cost, whether or not fleet management, as an example, is one that we're looking at the moment. How do we do that? Can we do that better? Can that reduce our demands on vehicles? Just as an example. So it's a continual thing that we pick off opportunities as we see them. And I'd welcome your ideas as well on those so that we can put them through the modes.
I guess part of that's reflected in this latest plan where we forecast 2.2% on, with 1.1% for the current plan. So it's an example.
No, thank you.
Okay, next page, Neil.
Chair,
Councillor Cousins.
people watching on CCTV on the TV and they can't put them up.
Oh, okay.
So what's
Turn it around. So Lisa, can you double check that it's all?
It's actually the knob's broken for that particular microphone. So many difficulties.
Pull it down towards you, Neil. Just give it a test run.
Just maybe if you just don't lean into it and just.
So what you're saying, they can't hear?
They can't hear.
Okay.
Right. So sorry, you can't hear all that?
People in
That's better.
Cyberspace.
So I've got thousands of people listening to me. That's fantastic. Let's do it. Always wanted to be famous.
Okay, Neil, next page, 49.
Okay, page 49. So this is looking more at, I'm nervous by this microphone. This is looking more at your balance sheet stuff. So we've tried to give you a high-level snapshot of where we are in terms of the borrowings, the cash, obviously your net borrowings, and the capital expenditure program. We're probably going to take the traffic lights off this because the traffic lights are a little bit meaningless in terms of this report here. So, for example, we're showing red on the borrowings. We project to get to 146 at the end of the year. You start at 148, so it's going to show a red all the way through. So it's kind of meaningless.
So the last one.
Yeah. So until the last one, yeah. So it's a bit dumb. So we'll get rid of those traffic lights there. The more important thing is where the numbers are on that. We've then given you a graph of the breakdown of where those borrowings are, and you see they're predominantly amongst, as you'd expect, amongst water, transport and wastewater. That's all Dennis's fault, he spent all that money. So that's where the majority of that debt sits. Your capital program, obviously, into the first quarter, we're not really cranking in to that program yet, just getting the preparatory work done. So it's the phasing on that's a straight divide by 12 as opposed to a cash flow. So that's why that's looking a little bit light there, but that will kick in more as we go through the year. And again, we've just given you the breakdown by the new CapEx, which is your new programs, the renewals, and then by activity. So high level snapshot on these first two pages.
If we then flick over to page 50, that's more your traditional numbers P&L that you're looking at there. Again, we've just given you a couple of graphs down the bottom on the key components of revenue and expenditure to see how they're tracking. Quite visually easy to see there. And the thing that should jump out at you there on the revenue graph is that fees and charges are ahead of plan, and that's been driven, and we're giving you an explanation box out to the right, and you can see there that's been driven mainly by fees and charges in the regulatory area, which should be no surprise to anyone, and some other stuff there. So that's, and sorry, in the numbers you'll see exactly where that's sitting. Does that all kind of make sense to people so far? Obviously, red is bad, black is good is the other thing in terms of the variances. Just to make it simple, it needs to be simple for me to understand, so that's how that works. Then what we'll do is we'll jump onto page 51, and you'll see the same format will occur now through the rest of the activities or the group of activities. So again, we've given that consistent theme, showing you the high level, the revenue, expenditure, net surplus and capital, given the numbers there, and then what we'll do is we'll put some brief explanations of the key variances for each of those group of activities, and we'll have the likes of Nick and Dennis and myself up here to answer any questions on those if anything pops at you out of those. Certainly when we've gone through this month's stuff, we're only into the first quarter, so everything's looking on track is the fundamental message, I guess, that we would give. So I won't bore you with going through all of the activities, but if there was anything that in there that you wanted to raise, please feel free to ask Nick and Dennis.
Thanks very much. Any questions? Has everyone liked the new layout?
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
It's easy. Yeah, well done.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Well done. We came up with that. It's good.
So at the end of the financials there, and I'll get Nick to talk a little bit after I've finished this about what will come in the next report. But at the end of the financials there, we've got the standard treasury management report that comes up every month, and that just shows how we're going against the parameters there. And you'll see that we're not achieving a few of them, and that's, as Alan's kind of alluded to, market conditions where we're at on that. But that's full disclosure against the treasury management, of our treasury management there. So all of the stuff's in there from our treasury management policy for you to see how we're going.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, Neil. Any questions of Neil? Pretty straightforward.
So I'll get Nick to maybe explain a little bit of what will be coming in the next month.
Yeah, I won't give you a whole lot of details on any specific area, but what I do want to have a chat about was how we're looking to restructure the report. One of the things that we've been talking about quite a lot is bringing together the finances and the words. So traditionally we've reported to you on how we're going on the projects that we've promised through the annual plan, and how we're going on our service delivery. So those levels of service that we've promised the community will give them, again, through the annual plan. Traditionally, we've tended to do that through a couple of big tables that go over page after page after page, and they're probably quite laborious to read and quite painful to put together at times. What we've noticed is we've had a major disconnect between what we've described to you about that service and that project performance and the actual numbers, the finances. So particularly when you think about the projects side of things, we used to give you a description about how we were going on the project. We would have a project sheet at the back of the report, which would again give you a similar description. We would have some information around finances on that initial table. We'd have some more sitting on that project sheet. We'd also have some more financial information about that project sitting in the CapEx list at the back. It was a very confusing sort of picture that we were presenting. So what we're looking to do is really rationalize that, give you, as we go through each group of activities, so stormwater as an example, you'll get your financials, as you've seen today, but you'll also get the couple of projects which we've got listed in the annual plan related to stormwater. You'll get the financial information about those projects next to the commentary about how we're going. And then underneath that, you'll get the service delivery to do with stormwater. So stormwater will all be sitting in one cohesive place, and you'll see the complete story. What we're also really conscious about doing is making sure that the reporting we're giving you is targeted on the things that you really need to focus your energy on. Neil talked about the use of the new colour scheme, and particularly those traffic lights, to really highlight your focus on the things that really need your time and energy. What we're proposing to do with regard to the service delivery is, instead of give you all 126 performance measures, which we've traditionally done month after month, we're going to pull out the ones where we're not going quite according to plan. And we'll pull those out, we'll focus the energy on those, and talk about what we're planning to do to remedy that situation. What we've found is that most of that 120 odd performance measures are the same month after month after month. And there's little to be gained by reporting the same thing month after month after month to you. So hopefully, by being a lot more targeted, we can collectively really focus that energy on fixing the few little hiccups that we'll have along the way. The other reason that we've restructured the report in this way is because it provides a much better alignment with the long-term plan and the annual plan and the annual report. So as governance, you're consistently going back to those three key documents as your Bible in terms of how we're proposing to perform and how we are actually performing. So this alignment with your monthly report will hopefully make it a lot easier for you to maintain that oversight. Yeah, thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Nick. All right. Dennis, you're okay with everything? Good man. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much, Green. Anything you want to add?
No, I think
You still enjoying the job?
absolutely.
Just through the chair. Sorry, Worship, I just had
Jollins?
one question, please, for Mr. Green. Healthy Rivers plan change. Are we proposing a submission collectively with the other councils, or are we going to look at doing our own submission?
Probably both.
Both.
So yes, we are working with other councils to look at a submission on areas of mutual concern or support. There will be some issues which are Taupo specific, which the other councils won't be interested in submitting on. So issues to do with this thing out here and the fact that we're at the top of the catchment, so we'll probably need to put one in ourselves as well.
You know, I would encourage us to, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Jollins. Okay, thank you, Mr. Green. Recommendation on page 47. We received the information, Chief Executive Officer's report, moved by Councillor Cousins, seconded by Councillor Rankin. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
Those against, carried.